We trying to implement this new protocol to cut down on some of the QAs coming from COB and to get everybody get a better understanding of the gram stain. So this book is the gram stain interpretation. It's a quick reference. It's always up here, so it's available for you to use when performing the gram stains. And we also have this reference book. We're supposed to be getting a new one. But let's talk about the gram stain. It tells you quick tips for preparing the slide. And it's talking about different gram stains, but mostly we're going to talk about the blood culture. And we know when you got a cytofuge, but the blood culture, if you're making a slide from the blood culture, they said 3 to 4 drops on the slide and spread it out. And I try not to make mine so thick because that becomes a problem when you're gram staining. So fix it on the warmer, but when you get ready to stain it, let it sit for a few seconds because it's hot. And once you put that crystal violet on that hot, it's just going to crystallize. So gram staining the slides, we all know that we've got crystal violet, iodine, colorizer, and saffron. 1 minute for everything except for the decolorizer. So, and reading the gram stains, look at the whole picture first, and they do it on the low power, because you want to get an idea of what's on the slide, what's down near the edges that might be an area you don't want to go to. But you can start out on low power first, and then you move to 100 oil immersion, and that's when we look for bacteria and characterizing bacteria. Now, you know, on the spinal fluids, you have to enumerate the bacteria, but you don't have to do that on blood cultures. This is the big thing for everybody: undercolorized or over decolorized. And it took me a long time to get to a point of not having an issue with this area. You know, gram positive, they stain purple. Gram negative stains pink or red looking color. And if you have a thick slide, go down to that thicker side just to see how it looks before you, because then you can tell if you over colorize or if you under colorize. I wouldn't read from that area, but you can go there just to check and make sure how, you know, your slide is looking, especially with the thick slides. Okay, morphology really is the key when you're reading the gram stain. Everybody's concerned about it being positive or negative with the colors, but the most important thing is morphology. If you learn and get this morphology, if you over colorize the slide, you look at the morphology, you can come up with the organism. And they're just telling you staph, gram positive coxine clusters, you know, the little grape, and they come in pairs or clusters. And if you over decolorize, it will look gram negative. But you want to look at your morphology, basically. And then it's got some little pictures of staph, and then this is the over decolorized over in there. And it looks like it's got a whole bunch of junk. But this is, these are cocci, but they have been over decolorized. Okay, next morphology tip for the cocci. They chain or pairs like this, and they're a little bit elongated. And this right here, it has, people confuse it with rods. I know because a long time ago I used to get the rod thing all the time. I would do that, but that little indentation in there is a good key that it's not a rod. The inner calf strip, you know, that's in chains, the pearls, and in pairs. And then morphology tips for the gram negative cocci. Now this mainly is going to be the kidney bean shape, and if it does not have that little indentation in there, then I would not call it gram negative cocci or diplococci. And And they're showing more gram-negative oxide. Okay, gram-positive rods. This is a picture of the bigger rods, big blunt rods, and then the little smaller rods. They're they say often chains, but we don't. When we say gram-positive rods, we don't put in chains or anything. It just looks like they're in chains, and they just use this. And they say this may chain, but we never reported out chains. We just put gram-positive rods. Okay, gram-positive rods characteristics. We have the these they say pleomorphic, but they make the V's and the Y's and the bird shaped like Chinese letters. That's a good clue to you. If you over decolorize it, looks pink, but they're making these shapes like birds and Y's and Chinese letters. It's a good indication that it's a gram-positive rod, not a gram-negative. And we have the other type, the palisading, where they're stacking on top of each other, picket fencing. Those are rods, and they'll have several little stacks. And then we have some really large rods. As you can see, there's some over decolorizing in there, but you wouldn't call that gram negative because the majority of that, like it's positive, and they're big. Then they have the gram negative rods. They show little shapes, and then they have the coccobacillus. Lori's big thing, if it's gram negative, if you find a long rod, an extra long one, you know you can definitely call that gram negative. You're supposed to search 50 fields anyway on a gram stain. Okay, that's just more pictures of rods, and sometimes some Haemophilus is very tiny, so they're so tiny you could almost miss them. So you have to be careful with that. And yeast, as we know, it's big and it's blue. I don't know if anybody misses yeast unless they think it's some kind of precipitant, but most of the time you can get yeast. Here we go. Uncertain, confused, bewildered, disoriented, unclear. What if you're uncertain? Ask someone else to look at your slide. Or look at the thick and thin areas of the slide to see if those areas look over or undercolorized. Make another slide. Ask your co-worker to make and stain another slide. 2 takes are better than 1. You always should not be afraid to ask for somebody's opinion. I ask Lori all the time when I'm not sure about a slide or an organism. And remember 3 great things about a gram stain: morphology, morphology, morphology. So, and then also what the previous result was, you can check that, and if they had a urine culture, check that, because if anything was growing in that urine culture, that's most likely what's going to be in their blood. So the gram stain slides are here, and I'm going to make some more up, but as soon as I get some organisms, but that should be enough if anybody wants to, when they start doing it. And I'll just show you, I'll start from here. The crystal violet goes on for 1 minute. This is the iodine, it's been on for. So I rinse the bag. Take off that excess. And when I decolorize, I hold my slide down at an angle and I just decolorize till all the blue is running off. Then I know right there, that's the end. And then I rinse, so I can stop that reaction. And I don't know if you can see that little orange tint. I decolorize till you get to that orange looking color. Then you have properly decolorized. Then add this one.
You mean that little faded like spot on the slide?
Yeah, it's a little orange when you decolorize. That was not a thicker slide, but if you decolorize it till that blue runs out, you're good to go. Get in that water quickly so it'll stop the reaction. And then the lady that I used to work with, she from a long time ago, she said you can also, put your decolorizer on there and rock it like that. I didn't have any trouble out of that. But this method, holding it down and just flushing it till it's gone, I haven't had any issues with that now. Let me knock on wood and get a QA. Fill. But that's technically how I gram stain. And hopefully we will have less QAs.
Okay.
If anybody has any questions or comments.
Well, that's what she was saying. Lily was saying to do half, the slide with the.
Oh,
You want to go over that
These
agenda?
are the QC slides. So I'm gonna, I gotta make some more of. But that's the little QC spot, and on there they have gram-positive cocci, gram-negative rods, and yeast.
Oh, okay.
So when you're staining your slide and you look at your QC and everything is pink, don't even bother to look at your gram stain. You might as well start over. So this should help,
Okay.
especially if you don't gram stain often. Some people don't gram stain often enough. And then, like I said, it should help. And if you have any problems or issues, ask your coworker to come look. We all on the same team, you know.
Can you go over the new the new protocol that we're using?
Yes. You're gonna make total of three slides. 2 unstained. One is gonna go to Cobb. One is gonna stay here at a spot for me because I'm gonna be reviewing slides. And
one stain.
Yeah, one stain with the QC.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, can you go back up to QC? So you want a QC slide done with a night on shift, or?
What they want everybody to do is if you got a gram stain, they want you to use this and put your blood there.
And that's your first one, right, for the night? Because there need to be a QC on each shift for the person doing the gram stains. And if you are like coming to cover, you need to do a QC. If you're the first one here.
Yeah, if you get a blood culture or something.
So each user has to do a QC for the night.
Okay, so QC for the night. Each you just one per shift, or just?
Does they want us to do it every time? We need to clarify.
I didn't clarify on this.
Yeah, because that's a question that didn't come up the last time.
No, it did not.
Because the thing is, we want to make sure they're not decolorizing, so we're gonna have to make up a lot of those.
Yeah, I'm emailing what's her name so I can get some more QC bugs to make them up.
And where do you want your QC slide to be?
I gotta find a spot. I'm gonna find a spot.
That's for them, right? Because if you have to look at it,
Yeah.
you review them.
That's basically for them, but if I'm gonna be reviewing the slides, then they need to leave their stain slide for me to review.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so one QC slide, you want the QC that you're going to make up plus the patient on there. Any patient that you get, and then just leave that slide. Leave that slide for you, but you also want 3 slides, 2 unstained, and 1 stained. 1 go to Cobb, one unstained stay here, and the stained will stay here as well.
Yes. Yes.
You got it.
And if you use this and put a patient on there after you stain it, just put a patient label on there so I'll know.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, Angela, we might want to
Clarify that?
Yeah.
Is it each time?
Yeah,
It helps with the colorizing,
Yeah.
so you can verify if you decolorize it too much.
Yes.
My question is there a total of 4 slides?
It's a total of 3.
3.
You got 2 of them unstained. One stays here, one goes to Cobb. So the one you review is going to have the QC on it as well.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So you're going to use a QC slide with your patient,
Okay.
and then you're going to have that unstained one,
Okay.
and then the 2 unstained, one goes to Cobb, one stays here. So all of them, when you're finished, your unstained and the one that you stained with the QC on it is going to go in
I'm gonna get a slide holder.
the slide holder
Yes.
that she's going to review, and she'll come back and review it in the morning. And hopefully that's to help us catch before they do our errors, and we can call and make any corrections or whatever. And we can see whether, if you need help, with your gram stains and you're having problems, that we can know exactly who to go to.
Where to
and-
pinpoint to help.
yeah. Okay.
That's basically
Any more
it.
questions?
So are we are still gonna report out or what we see, right? You
Yes.
know, preliminary what
Mhm.
we see, okay.
Yeah.
When does this start?
Right.
Is it going to start now or Monday?
It probably needs to start Monday.
Monday.
Yeah.
Yeah, cause everybody wouldn't have,
Yeah, because
Yeah.
we got to get the weekend shift
weekend
as
shift
well.
Yeah.
So we probably won't get them until, and then they'll be able to review.
Question, do we need to report the WBCs on the, any gram standards or not?
Not on the blood culture.
Not in blood cultures, okay.
Only on spinal fluids and any other stat gram stain that the doctor orders. or
Okay.
wants. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's it. And then there's also the policy. In the policy book, you can just kind of review it a little bit. It's in policy book number 1. But just review it. It just goes over some key elements. Same thing that, I probably went over. But sometimes if you read it a little bit, it might be better. But yeah. But it's M0018. And it's in number 1 manual.
Awesome.